Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome to this presentation review of the book, The Nature of Good and Evil. For some time now, I have been pondering about the essential nature of our species, particularly because I have faced trials and enduring extensions of tribulations and residues from the original event, proportions that I believe transcend normal circumstances typically happening to humans. And that is what drove me to seek literature, and gracefully, I happened to find Sylvia Browne's The Nature of Good and Evil, a perfect title fit for just the subject that I was looking for. Mrs. Brown's first chapter beyond the introduction is titled The True Nature of God and provides an overview of an ancient religious sect called Gnosticism, stating that Gnosticism is the religion that Jesus followed. This is on The Nature of Good and Evil on page 2. According to Webster's New World College Dictionary, 4th edition, copyright 2001 by IDG Books Worldwide, Gnosticism is defined as an esoteric system of mystical, religious, and philosophical doctrines, stressing gnosis. And gnosis is knowledge of spiritual things, especially a secret and superior knowledge limited to an elite few, as essential for or to salvation, viewing matter as evil, and variously combining ideas derived from mythology, ancient Greek philosophy, ancient religions, and eventually Christianity. From my own understanding as a general benevolent spiritual seeker, empath, INFJ, melancholy, phlegmatic, and a former congregant of a missionary Baptist background, I see Jesus essentially as an empath and a farmer and radical of the political, religious, spiritual, economic, and social ills of his lifetime, but most essentially as a reformer, without question, who questioned. That is, who questioned the authorities of his time, but loved and cared for the unlovable. Brown, as well as I, conclude that Jesus, or that for Jesus to be who he is to many Christians, modernists or fundamentalists, versus who God is contradictory to what Christianity as a spirituality or religion should be or was from its beginning, and that in order to further understand how Christianity evolved from Jesus, an adherent must act in the way that Jesus did, that is, essentially, to question and not to simply accept. For Gnostics believe in the power of reason and intellect. Think is what Sylvia Browne emphasizes. And I just want to add to that that as an educator, uh, and as an educator in life, as a licensed educator, as an educator in life, I should say, uh, that if we're trying to get to a higher plane as a species, to advance to advance, as far as we can go. I heard Felicia Rashad mention in an interview a while ago that I was watching. Her and her sister were talking about their upbringing, and they were talking about how their mother gave them that purpose in life was to uh, fulfill all that you can feel that is within you. That's me just paraphrasing that, but that's what they meant, and I understand that as a person who strives toward things as well, the highest, always seeking and trying to understand life to somewhat maybe alleviate as much suffering in oneself and that of others if possible. And I think it is possible. So, in order to do that, you must be one to question everything. I just think that is the real essence of education. Is if we are really wanting to educate ourselves to get to the bottom line of what the ills are as humans, from whatever angle, social, political, economic, environmental, religious, etc., whatever. If we are to do that, then we must educate, but we must educate fully, and we must educate without having to be restricted. I think that is what the whole idea behind libraries are about, is that with the expansion of books and technology and knowledge in general that we have to seek freely, is that we should not be holding ourselves back from uh, any knowledge if it means that it's going to make us better as a species. And so, what Gnostics believe, and I think uh, Jesus' methods of going about trying to understand and during his time what the laws were within his uh, his geography, where he lived and where he traveled to, uh, was about looking at those things and questioning them to see if they were right or wrong, if they were good or bad, and then try making the attempts to change them. That is, what's the word for it? Comparable to Abraham Lincoln. That is comparable to John F. Kennedy. That is comparable to Martin Luther King. It is comparable to Malcolm X. I mean, I was just sitting here thinking about our current president, Donald Trump. I mean, even though I believe he may be going in a malevolent direction or have malevolent motives, but even the changes in policies that he's currently making is highly radical. But why keep doing something if it doesn't work? And I just think that is the true essence of education, that you must be able to question things in order to be able to get to a point where all of us are able to advance essentially on a spiritual level. It does not matter what the perspective is, because ultimately it comes down to one spirit, I believe. And so, yes, I believe in that idea that you should question in order to get to that better place, so that we somehow, I think ignorance and not wanting to know is what is causing the destruction on any level. Okay, but that's the point that I want to make here about this particular slide. All right, we move on. In The Soul's Choice, Mrs. Brown provides detail about why some of us, that is human, consider ourselves to be more than just our external earthly identities. That is, to identify transcendently as a spiritual being having a human experience. and why we choose or chose to come to this planet. Uh, I just believe that in our individual end, and if there's to be an end to our life as being fleshly or physically human, that all the identity politics that some of us have experienced here on this earth with, one challenging identity or many, as James T. Sears wrote about. I'll just say, I forgot what word I was going to use, but anyway, that in the end, in our individual end, and if there's to be a collective end, those things or identity politics are not going to matter. Again, I think that is part of the education, the experience, that when we have the rough patches or challenges dealing with identity, is that we are to get to a place where race is a small matter, or will become a small matter. One's geography will become a small matter. One's religion, one's gender, those type of things. In the end, it won't matter. The real battle is between the tares and the wheat, or the good and the evil in the world. It's what it's going to come down to. And for all the identity politics that have been experienced on this planet, particularly in the United States, it's all going to come to pass to heighten what's really important in the end. And again, that's one spirit. So she talks about that in The Soul's Choice. And I am still exploring myself that understanding of, choosing to come into the planet to do or fulfill whatever purpose is required, if I so asked for that, or if I so was prescribed that before I came. Like I said, I'm still studying and gaining more knowledge on that understanding, if there's some validity to that. But even if not, just experiencing what it means to be human, because that is our commonality, is what is going to matter in the end, well above all aspects or any aspects of identity politics that we have experienced.